Welcome to the Every Veteran in Business podcast, where we spotlight veteran-owned businesses and the entrepreneurs behind them. I'm your host, Joseph Martinez, business owner and U.S. Army combat vet. And today we're here with Uriel Lemus, USMC combat vet and owner of Vice Resolutions. Uriel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Where are you originally from?
I was born in Mexico, moved to California, and was from California pretty much my whole life until I moved here.
What kind of kid were you?
I was an innovative kid. Like, we grew up with not much, so I had to find ways to have fun. Obviously, we'll say pay for the things that I wanted to do. So I found ways to either sell paintings, sell drawings, find ways to make money. Growing up, just to be able to have fun with my friends.
Kids can be innovative, right?
Very.
I stole chickens from a neighbor behind us, and I would resell those chickens at the auction. My parents wondered, how is he getting all this money all the time?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. When did you join the Marine Corps?
So September 16, 2001, left to boot camp January 2002.
What was your reason for joining the Marine Corps?
I got 9/11. 9/11 is kind of what I saw what happened, and this country had done a lot for me growing up, and I thought it was time for me to kind of do something for this country.
How old were you when you joined?
18.
Enlisted or officer?
Enlisted.
What'd you do in the Marine Corps?
I was a Marine Corps tanker.
What was the best thing about being a tanker?
Being a tanker. Being a tanker. I mean, that's, you always hear these guys are like, the deadliest thing is a Marine and his rifle. I was like, yeah, that's cool, but I'd rather have my weapon carry me.
How long did you serve?
20 years.
So you retired from the Marine Corps?
Yes.
You ever miss anything about serving in the Marine Corps?
Just the people. The people is probably one of the biggest things. I still have communication with them, but the people is the biggest miss out of no longer being active duty. Like I said, they say you miss the people, you miss the clowns, not the circus. That's kind of what it's been like.
You shared with me that you were a drill instructor in the
Yes.
Marine Corps. Were you fallen told that you were going to be a drill instructor, or how did that happen?
No, so 2005, I'd gone 2 deployments to Iraq, and they said that some of us needed a break, so I decided I wanted to go be a drill instructor. I put in my paperwork and got accepted, so I volunteered to go. Back then, it was very hard for people people didn't want to volunteer or any of those things because everybody was saying that the special duty assignments are hard, and I was up for a challenge, and being a drill instructor was one of the things that inspired me. Like I said, in boot camp, the drill instructor is the first person and the last person you see. So it made a difference in my life. So I wanted to have the same impact on people.
What was one of the greatest things about being a drill instructor in the Marine Corps?
It was just the reputation. As you go through and you see Marine Corps units, like most of them are led, like their sergeants majors are all prior drill instructors. Like it was just fun. You get to make Marines. Like you have all these other jobs in the Marine Corps and they're great, but like to be able to say like I've made Marines for a living, like that is life changing.
A lot of pride
Yes.
in the drill instructor cadre, I could imagine.
Yes,
Were you married at that time?
I was.
How was it on the family?
Very rough. I ended up in a divorce.
That happens. That
It
happens.
does. Yes.
Similar to recruiting?
It's yes, just like recruiting. I got friends that are in recruiting that, it takes a toll.
I was an Army recruiter, and luckily my wife is a veteran as well, so she sort of understood. What inspired you to start your own business?
What inspired me to start my own business? Seeing the same issues that I had seen in the Marine Corps, in the tech world and in the corporate world, and nobody was doing anything about it. So that's kind of what inspired me to want to help others. At the end of the day, it was to help organizations.
What's the name of your business?
Vice Resolutions.
What does Vice Resolutions do?
So we help small organizations or individuals, because we coach individuals as well, kind of get out of that fog that they have when they start having issues within an organization. We help teams communicate, develop processes, and to ensure that everybody understands. So we do corporate training events on communication, on development, of leadership. And we also help them with projects, kind of like an external project management consultancy that helps them get through for one, the hard questions, for two, to ensure that everybody in that team understands what their purpose is.
And where did you get inspiration in the development of what you teach these companies? Like, how did you learn your craft?
So it starts off with in the Marine Corps. From day one, you are pushed into leadership. So my whole career, I was pushed into a leadership role at a young age. So leadership development was what I loved to do. I built platoons, I built individuals, I built a company to become a high performance individual, so high performance group, to be able to deploy, to go into combat and come back safely.
So let's say I own a company and I have a handful of employees and they're not meeting benchmarks, but I just don't have the leadership ability of which to help these guys take the hill. How would your company come in and help us?
So we have a lot of data-driven assessments, right? So the first thing I would I would come in and assess the individuals, have a conversation with everybody to ensure an unbiased opinion amongst, and then figure out their ticks and their drives to why they want to be in this company. From there, all that data I would be able to give that to the management and give them ways to be able to lead those individuals, because leadership is not a one-size-fits-all. So being able to understand that other people take information a different way and help you communicate that way, it makes it for a better leadership and subordinate relationship.
So you co-own vice resolutions with your partner. And being a drill instructor, I could understand how maybe you are in charge of the leadership aspect of what you teach. What does your partner bring to the equation?
Okay, so my partner is Chris Scott. Obviously, one of his history is he worked in the automotive industry, did custom cars, so he has that business acumen, understands finances. He also was a firefighter. During his time in the firefighter, he moved up and understands the basics of leadership. And the same in the Marine Corps. He's able to bring in a brand new kid that does no clue what he's doing, other than this is my gear and this is what my job is. And he trains them and prepares them to go into high stakes environments to be able to accomplish his mission.
Now, is there a specific kind of service industry that you cater to, or can you help all businesses across the board?
We started off in the tech industry, but one of the things that we've been able to help is small businesses and municipalities. So like specialty selections, obviously firefighters, police departments, because we've seen that because of the innovation that we're bringing in, a lot of that old school tribal mentality, we're able to kind of tack into it and go in and help them understand the feasibility of being able to communicate.
So, as business owners, we have to struggle daily with the static of life. People not seeing value in our company. I imagine you do cold calling sometimes, and maybe people are hanging up on you because you're just, to them, a solicitor. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced every day, and how do you overcome those?
The biggest challenges is sometimes people not believing that they're the problem. When it comes to leadership, a lot of these companies see a high-performing individual and then put him in a leadership position. However, he's never led individuals. So he expects others to work the same way he did. What he doesn't understand is that everybody's driven differently. So being able to get them to understand, like, you are great at your job, but if you cannot communicate how others should do your job, do the job for you, it creates an issue. So once they get that, and once I give them, like I said, we build an assessment, and I can do an assessment. Takes about 5 minutes, and I can tell you exactly the kind of person you are, how you make decisions, and what drives you. So once we're able to tell that to somebody, then it opens their eyes, like, oh man, this is why I'm this way. And I'm like, yes, and this individual is a specific way. So this is how you should communicate information to him for them to understand it better and for them to be able to take action. And that's usually the wake-up call that they're like, oh man, like, thanks. Like, I didn't know I was doing that, because it's naturally who I am.
And do you see a lot of businesses who maybe don't have the right leadership in place or the right
Yes.
way of doing things, systems and so forth?
Yes, I do. Mainly when a business goes from a small business and it grows fast, like everybody wants to 10x their business, right? And everybody says that they have systems in place. However, half the people don't know how to communicate those systems that they want to implement. So being able to, once again, going in there and having those basic communication skills of like, hey, is this what you're doing? Are you informing somebody? Are you documenting this? Like, do you have a knowledge base? Like to be able to actually go back and refer, and that's one of the things that people forget. Like everybody, like I said, everybody wants to expand, but nobody wants to document how your expansion began.
Sometimes the owner or leader of a company doesn't necessarily have leadership ability.
Yes, innovative doesn't have a lick of a leadership skills because they never needed to because they've always been innovative and individual and independent. We've seen CEOs and that pretty much have outgrown that leadership position and now they need to be a figurehead and understand that piece, but they need to have a chief operation officer and they need to have a staff that makes all those decisions.
So a company hires you, right? You come in on day one. Typically, how long does the process take from start to finish before the owner of the company sees those results and systems that need to be implemented? Like how long does the process take?
It depends per organization. I like to tell them that it's going to take about 6 months for them to actually see something. However, we can go in faster because a lot of it, usually when they call us, it's because they've ran out of ideas. They don't have the issues, so they don't have a solution for the issues, and they can't see what the problem is. But if it's a new organization that feels like they just want to be in sync with everybody and want to have a good process, 6 months. I mean, it's really what it takes. At the end of the day, that's what it takes to understand your job, who you need to contact, so your resources, and how you need to operate.
So we're going to take a quick break to hear from one of our partner businesses. Don't go away because we'll be right back.
Are you a veteran or first responder looking to own your own business? Troops Haul Junk offers a unique, highly lucrative opportunity in the fast-growing junk removal industry. As the only junk removal franchise exclusive to veterans and first responders, we provide all the training and ongoing support you need to succeed. No experience required. Join a mission-driven team today. For more information, visit troopshauljunk.com and click Franchise Opportunities.
We're back with the Every Veteran in Business podcast, and with us today is Uriel Lemus, USMC combat vet and owner of Vice Resolutions, based out of Stafford, Virginia. Now, do you only work in Stafford, Virginia and Northern Virginia, or are you national?
National.
So helping out-of-state clients, do you travel to them, or is this done virtually?
We can do both ways. We can travel to the client or we can do a virtual. One of the things that sets us apart is that because I've been in that environment, I was able to help out the Marine Corps go into a virtual setting for the Marine Corps University, at least for my team. So I understand the basics of leadership through a virtual setting. So I'm able to communicate, collaborate with others through a virtual setting or in person.
Were there any lessons you learned in the United States Marine Corps that you found particularly useful in running your business?
Consistency. Consistency is the biggest one that I learned, and trusting your training. The leadership development that I went through in the Marine Corps that I taught, moving forward was one of the things that helped me when I start my own business. It's the same thing, the consistency.
I agree. I want to add innovation and also the ability to block out that static. I shared with you earlier that many years ago, one of my first successful businesses was a pet waste removal company called Punani. And when I ran home to tell my wife about it, it's funny, to have people remember your business, you have to create an emotion, laughter, sadness, whatever. And I would tell people the name of my business, Punani, they would just get a chuckle out of it. But you have to have the ability to cut out that static. When I told my wife I wanted to start this business picking up dog poop, she said, I don't think it's going to work. Don't waste your time. I didn't let that permeate my mind. I went out there and I did what I needed to do in order to make it successful. And it was very successful. So I would say innovation as well as the ability to cut out the daily static. What's been the most surprising part of owning a business that you didn't expect?
All the paperwork. It's not that the paperwork is hard. It is that it is scattered everywhere. And that was probably the hardest piece to it, just trying to find those resources.
And being a drill instructor, you obviously bring leadership ability to the equation between your partner and you. What does your partner bring to the equation as a firefighter?
The cohesiveness, obviously the same thing, being able to be a leader. So we both made a living building high performance teams and deploying them into harm's way. Whether it was training or whether it was an actual event, that's what we did. And being able to bring them back, decompress them and make sure that they understood what they were doing. So that's kind of the same thing. You know, if you don't know enough about firefighting, it's you have to trust your equipment. You have to trust your team, which is the same concept that we try to instill in organizations from the Marine Corps and the firefighting side.
So more and more veterans are getting into business every day, but there's still a ton of us out there who are either afraid to take that step or maybe not sure where to begin. What advice would you give a fellow veteran who's thinking about starting their own business but is maybe unsure where to begin or doesn't have the confidence to begin?
Be humble, but give it a try. I mean, one of the biggest things is, like we talked about earlier, every step forward is a step forward. You're moving in the right direction. If it fails or if it has issues, go back, just like you were taught in the military, reassess the situation, you know, because we always say we don't retreat, we reset, right? We reset and go back and try it again. Find something that you know that you want to do and ask around. Ask veteran owners, ask them, does this make sense? Does this work? And they'll tell you, you know, like I talked to you about marketing. It was one of those things that I wanted to see what marketing, how we could better market ourselves. And you were able to, you're like, this is kind of what I do, but these are the resources. And so being able to talk to others in this world as a veteran owner is very helpful.
Network.
Get
involved with those after hours groups. Like we started a veterans networking group here in Stafford, Virginia, and there was a lot of good ideas going around the table. And we all want to help each other and see each other succeed. But if we don't get out of our shell, if we don't leave our house and take those basic steps, then we're never going to amass any more knowledge than we already have. Looking back on your journey, what would you tell your younger self about taking the leap into entrepreneurship?
I said, do it sooner. Do it sooner. Like I said, I waited probably about a year and a half before I started my own business. The only reason was because I was going in a completely different industry. And it was in the back of my head, but it wasn't the number one priority to start a business. But everything was nudging me to start a business and help consult and start consulting because it was needed in the corporate and in the tech world.
If anyone wants to contact you to see if your expertise can help their business, how can they get a hold of you?
We have a website, viceresolutions.com. You go in there and you kind of put in your information on it. We'll be able to reach out to you. If not, you can find me on LinkedIn. Or you could find me on Facebook.
Well, Uriel, thank you for sharing your experience and knowledge with our viewers. We wish you great success with Vice Resolutions, and we hope to have you back soon on the podcast. If you're a veteran in business and would like to be a guest on the Every Veteran in Business podcast, please email joseph@troopshalljunk.com. That's me. I'm Joseph Martinez, business owner, entrepreneur, and host of the Every Veteran in Business podcast, and we'll see you next time.